Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I wanted to showcase my level 50 100% Zarude in the Open Master League. It's one of my favorite Pokemon that I have in my collection, one of the most unique Pokemon for sure, and it's a very interesting core breaker where there's a lot of Rhyperiors, Kyogres, potentially Necrozmas as well in this meta. The grass and dark type Pokemon here has so much play. I stream my battles basically every day live at twitch.tv/ItsAXN, so if you want to see this kind of content live, please make sure to check me out there. But without further ado, let's get into the gameplay. Alright, game number one, Zarude in the lead up against a Palkia. Alright, this is a water type, but not a water type that we're actually strong against, obviously. They are a water and dragon type Pokemon, which means they have a lot of neutral damage into us. We have a lot of neutral damage into them, but unfortunately, I think they just have better fast and charge moves, which means that in the neutral matchup here, we will probably lose, but not lose too hard. And once this Palkia is out of the way, I think that our Landorus in the backline should be a little bit better. We're going to take a move, hopefully calling an Aqua Tail bait, but they full send the Spatial Rend. It does a lot of damage, but now they are in range where we can farm them down with Dialga. Hopefully they stay in and they don't save their Palkia for later in the game. Our opponent does see that we bring in Dialga here. They instantly swap out to their Zacian, and I'm kind of thinking, you know, I can still deal with that Palkia with my Landorus later on. This is likely the best matchup that's remaining for our Dialga this game, because I see a lot of Palkias with Landorus in the back, maybe Solgaleo or potentially Necrozma with that Solgaleo fusion as well. So I want to make sure that I can use my Dialga in a place where it's at least somewhat useful. Hopefully they're not running close combat. Looks like they are going for a play rough. I can easily survive that move, and now they throw another charge attack. If it's a wild charge, I could survive it. If it's a play rough, that's a lot of energy for them to drain. It is going to be a play rough, but we can go with our Landorus now, hopefully use it as a way to close out the backline. I'm going to use all the energy I can with our Landorus, invest in it, and potentially sweep this matchup. I basically have neutralized the Palkia, but it does have a little bit of health. It might be able to reach an Aqua Tail, so we have to keep that in mind. I don't think a Sand Storm would be quite enough to knock out the Zacian just yet, but they end up swapping out to their Necrozma. This is the Steel-type Necrozma, which means these Sand Storms are going to do a lot of damage to them, and I can't quite farm them down, but I can go for this Sand Storm once again on CMP. If they want to shield, they can be my guest. I can no-shield a double debuffed move. If they let it go, then we're going to have to play around with our shield here. Where do we want to use it? They come back in with Palkia. I think the play is going to be to shield, Mudshot all the way down, and then use double Sandsear Storm against that Zacian when it comes back in. They end up going and getting farmed down here. They bring in the Zacian, but can they get to another move here before we're able to knock them out? I have back-to-back moves right now. They might barely survive. Let's see what they're going to do. They end up actually letting the move go. I wasn't expecting that. I should have just gone for fast moves here, but that's still fine. They are not close to another move just yet. I can throw this Sandsear Storm, and yeah, we can either farm them down, or they can do a shield that, and we can take the game there. Alright, next game, Zarude up against a Reshiram. If this is a Fire Fang Reshiram, that's even worse than normal. It's still a very bad matchup, even with Dragon Breath, but it is a Fire Fang Reshiram, actually. Safe swapping into our Landorus. They don't seem to have a good answer to us, though. They're staying in for just a second. Getting quite a bit of chip damage, though, just with fast moves, but we get a shield here with our first Sandsear Storm, and I'm going to shield up just in case it's going to be a move that could one-shot us. It is going to be a Fusion Flare, very powerful attack, probably would come close to knocking us out there, and then they try to respond to us with a Charmer. This is a Water-type Pokemon, but obviously they're not using a lot of Water-type damage here. Our Landorus is going to be able to do a lot of damage with Sandsear Storms. If I can reach the next one before they can reach their next attack, I'm going to be in a great position where either I flip switch or I get shields down right now. I do land this Sandsear Storm, but they end up shielding it, which means I do get fully charged down, but I can come in with our Zarude, get a Vine Whip down here. They are double debuffed. Normally you don't see them run Moonblast. I'm going to no-shield, hope for no Moonblast. If it's a Disarming Voice, they are double debuffed. It's not going to do that much damage, and our Zarude right now is not going to be all that strong against that Reshiram, so I'm going to be fine just kind of taking the chip damage here and saving a move on our Zarude for later on. They are staying in for a second here. That's kind of making me wonder, what could their final Pokemon be? I have a Dark Pulse loaded in the backline if I need it for this Pokemon later on, and I also could potentially go for either a Roar of Time or an Iron Head in the backline. Looks like I'm going to need to Iron Head this. This is a Tapu Bulu, one of the scariest Pokemon actually for my entire team, but I have my Dialga with a shield and energy. Well, I don't have a shield anymore, but I had a lot of energy going into this matchup. I know I survive a Nature's Madness here. I can likely even Dragon Breath all the way down before they get another move. Even if I can't, my Zarude should be able to close out this endgame, and we should be able to take this matchup here. We get the full Dragon Breath down against a Fairy type. That Reshiram has nowhere to go. GG's to our opponent. Alright, next matchup, Zarude up against Rhyperior, a fantastic lead matchup here. Actually, one of the best possible leads that we could see. They end up safe swapping into a Palkia. This is what Dialga's for. I can shield once, farm them all the way down, and I should be in a very good position where I can go for Iron Heads against that Rhyperior later on. And honestly, I don't even need Switch against Rhyperior. I have my Landorus as well. One of the best things about this team is generally Rhyperiors have almost nowhere to go against us. Obviously, they can Mud Slap down to Dialga, but we have super effective Iron Head. It's going to do a lot of damage if it goes through, and if it goes shielded, then we're at least going to get our shield back. They end up shielding that attack here. I get to the next Iron Head here just a second. I might have been able to reach for a Roar of Time, but I don't want to get sniped down by a charge move from them, so I'm going to throw this move, guarantee either the damage or a shield. They end up letting it go, and now I can come in either with my Zarude or my Landorus here, depending on what I think is going to be in the backline. I'm going to come in Zarude, though, likely, because I think that having a bit of health left over on our Landorus is still going to be useful. They throw a charge move. A Rock Wrecker is going to do quite a bit of damage, but it's not going to one-shot us here. Zarude's actually pretty bulky. In comes their final Pokemon. Unfortunately for them, not only do we have this Zarude for it, we have our Landorus, which is one of the best answers in the entire game to this Necrozma. They end up no-shielding that Dark Pulse. It does so much damage, and once we show our Landorus, they realize nowhere for their Necrozma to go. Our next game, worst possible lead, a Ho-Oh. This is not looking great. We don't have a hard answer for this on the entire team, but I'm going to stay swap to our Landorus, try to make something happen this game. They instantly swap out to their Palkia here, which is a little bit awkward. One of the best answers, aside from like Kyogre, I guess, to our Landorus right now. We get the first debuff off here. If there's a chance I can survive an Aqua Tail and get this next Sandsear Storm off, oh, they actually let us go on CMP here. That's even better. There's a chance we can get a shield from them. Maybe a shield advantage this game could potentially help us win. I'm going to no-shield now. I know that even if we get knocked out, we got that shield advantage, and our Zarude can probably Vine Whip this all the way down. They get the full Dragon Breath down against our Landorus, but I'm going to go for the Vine Whips. I know they're double debuffed, so even if they do get to a Spatial Rend here, it's not going to do all that much damage. I'm going to no-shield. It's not going to be the most threatening move in the game, and I don't really care about our Zarude at this point with that Ho in the backline. They go for an Aqua Tail bait, actually, which means that we actually get the full Vine Whip down before they get to a move, and in comes that Ho-Oh here. What is their final Pokemon going to be? Unfortunately for me, it is a Rhyperior, one of the best answers to our Dialga. Despite having a shield advantage, these fast moves are doing so much pressure to us that I'm not going to be able to win this matchup. They go for a Breaking Swipe. They get the attack drop. Of course they do. Why wouldn't they? I have to go for the Hail Mary play, go for this Roar of Time, see if they end up letting it go. They shielded it up. That is going to be the end of this game, but I might be able to make something happen here. I'm going to go for the Power Whip, try to knock them out. I throw the move. That's a Dark Pulse. I forgot what side my Power Whip was on. My thought process here was if I could go for the Power Whip, if that one-shot this thing, which it should have, then maybe I could get to 2 Dark Pulses against the Ho-Oh, and maybe that would be enough knockout, but forgetting what side the charge move on, honestly, is going to just cost me any chance of that this game. But honestly, looking at this health here, I know I wouldn't 2-shot, even if I wasn't debuffed with that Breaking Swipe. So despite not remembering what side my moves were on in that moment, I should still lose this game no matter what. They throw a charge move here. If they get another debuff, then like, yeah, it's so over, it's not even funny. We're going to get incinerated down in just a second here. A little bit of a misplay by me, but honestly, even without that misplay, no way we were going to win that one. Alright, next matchup, we're going to see a Zarude up against Rhyperior. Once again, a very good lead. We'll see if we can come back from this in the backline if they have a good answer to us. But no, they're staying in here? That is crazy to me. Zarude is a huge core breaker, it looks like right now. Going for the Power Whip, this will one-shot basically from full health. If it goes through, our opponent realizes that they are forced to shield. We have fast moved them below half of their health. Rock Wrecker is not even going to threaten us that much here. I'm going to no-shield this. It doesn't even put us into the red at this point, and we can reach this next move before they can even reach a Breaking Swipe. Zarude is so incredibly powerful against all of these Rhyperiors that you see everywhere in Master League. We end up winning Switch and Shield Advantage. They come in with a Charm Primarina, which is a little bit uncomfortable, but since it's running Charm, we're actually not taking super effective damage on our Landorus unless they land a charge move, so I'm going to come in Lando here, hopefully overfarm as much as possible, have energy for the backline. They throw a charge move as soon as they can so they don't get debuffed, and now I'm going to build up a little bit more energy, probably throw a Stone Edge against this to guarantee the knockout, because I don't think a Sandsear Storm would be quite enough from this range, and they might try to survive. A Stone Edge is going to be thrown. If they shield, that's fine. I'm close to another move. If they no-shield, I can switch lock in their final Pokemon with a debuff. Their final Pokemon is going to be revealed as a Kyogre. Luckily, not only do we have our Zarude as an answer to this, we have our Dialga. They were triple weak to Grass-type damage this game, so just showing what Zarude can do here. GG's to them. Next matchup, Zarude up against Palkia once again. This is always a bit of a tricky matchup, but not the worst case scenario. If we can whittle this down so our Landorus doesn't have to deal with it, then I'm going to be pretty happy about how this is going to go. They are going to be outpaced to their first charge move. They could obviously go for an Aqua Tail before we can go for a Power Whip, but if they want to reach that Spatial Rend, they have to overfarm just a little bit more here. Our Zarude would take a lot of damage from it, and at this point, they are at the move, plus a little bit extra energy. Once again, I'm going to call that they're going to bait, just in case they do, but no, it's a Spatial Rend, it knocks us out. But we've done so much work against this Palkia at this point that we can Dragon Breath down if they let us, but they end up swapping out instantly to a Landorus. I'm going to try to catch on my own Landorus here, see if this is going to be a way I can win this game. Obviously, this is going to be a debuff. It's going to not do too much damage, Edge, but now our Stone Edge won't knock them out, which is a little bit uncomfortable. But we did get a lot of Dragon Breath fast food pressure against them. Potentially, if I land a Stone Edge, I might be able to put them into Dragon Breath farm down range for our Dialga, and maybe there's still a chance I can win this one. We end up drawing a shield here from our opponent. I'm going to shield up as well. I feel like it would be kind of crazy of them right now to go for another bait. Let's see what it's going to be. It is a Stone Edge. Thankfully, I'm not going to be shielding up a very low-powered move. We do shield up properly here. Go for the next Stone Edge of our own. If this ends up landing, they're going to be in Dragon Breath downrange. If it ends up getting shielded, I guess we'll see what they want to do. They do end up letting that go. I'm going to make the tough decision of shielding this attack and see what our opponent wants to do. I don't know if I can quite get the farm down here. It doesn't look like I can. I'm going to snipe them down with Dialga. Maybe there's a chance here in the back line for us. In the back is a Zacian. I was hoping that we'd see a Necrozma, potentially the Steel-type Necrozma. I would have had a lot of play against that, but this Fairy-type Pokemon, especially if they're running close combat, could just win them this game. This looks like they threw after 6. Unfortunately, not a Play Rough. I could probably survive a Play Rough from this range, but a close combat will come through. It'll knock us out easily, and their Palkia still has a little bit of energy on it. If I can't knock them out before they get to this next Aqua Tail, I think I'm going to lose this matchup. They end up CMPing us here, actually, which is going to be the worst-case scenario, where even though we do get the debuff off, they're going to guarantee this move is going to land, and it doesn't quite knock us out, but it puts us into fast move farm down range. Not much that we could do there. GG's to them. Alright, next game, a Zarude up against a Landorus. Actually, one of the better leads. It's a flying-type Pokemon that is against our grass type, but mainly it's a ground type against a grass type, so it's not actually that bad of a scenario to be in. They safe swap to a Zacian. I'm a little bit slow on our counter swap here, actually, but I can still shield up this move. I know that with debuffs, this matchup gets very good for Landorus the longer it goes, and if they want to bring their own Landorus in to farm us down, they have to throw a full-on Stone Edge to knock us out, whereas I am going to be able to get a Stone Edge off against them as well, probably get our shield back, or do a massive amount of damage to their Landorus later on. They throw a charge move here, likely going to be a Play Rough at this point. We shield the first. I'm not going to double shield at this point, but I am going to overfarm as much as we can. Oh, they end up trying to bait us with a wild charge. That's even better for us right now. I have back-to-back charge moves. If they want to shield this, they can, but they're going to have to shield twice. If they no-shield this, I have a lot of energy for their Landorus when it comes back in here. Are they best buddy on this thing? It is actually a best buddy Landorus. I'm rocking the best buddy myself, which means I'm trying to guarantee CMP over opposing Landorus, but it would be a full-on 50-50 coin flip because we are both best buddy here. They end up letting that first move go, and I reach the next one. Our opponent risks it, throws on CMP, actually, a bit risky by them because I could have won that 50% chance, but unfortunately, we do end up losing that, but we're still in a very good position because we have our Zarude against this Pokemon. We have our Dialga in the backline as well. Make a bit of a mistake in CMP here. I probably should have thrown either one earlier or not thrown quite yet, but this is still fine. I'm going to guarantee either knocking out this Landorus or potentially getting their shield. What do they want to do? I throw the Dark Pulse just in case they catch here. They don't end up making a catch, obviously, because they did throw on CMP in the backline, a Palkia. So, honestly, we just have the perfect alignment here with our Dialga. We can farm them all the way down despite their shield advantage. GG's to them. Another Landorus in lead. Let's see if they play it out differently this time. They instantly swap once again, actually, to a Zacian, so looking very similar to last game. If it's once again a Palkia in the back, this game should be under wraps. I know that Landorus plus Palkia is a very strong duo. It's one of my favorite duos, actually, to run in the Master League. So that is what I'm expecting to see right now. We get the attack drop here before the first charge move. I'm not going to shield this time, since I'm a little bit quicker this time to the swap. The Play Rough does do a decent amount of damage, but we're still not in range where a close combat or a wild charge would knock us out, and I don't think that we quite knocked them out with a Sandsear Storm. We might be very close, but I want to guarantee the knockout. Go for this Stone Edge. We guarantee the KO here. They try to survive, but since I threw that higher energy move, we do end up getting the knockout here. They're likely going to come back in with Landorus, which is going to take a Stone Edge, but we are getting pretty low now. We're probably in range where potentially a Sandsear Storm plus the Mudshot damage will knock us out, which is a little bit uncomfortable. They can come out of this with a lot of energy, but this Stone Edge will still do a lot of damage to them. Unlike the last game, we didn't actually end up going down shields here, so we still have 2 shields, they have 2 shields, so this is still a pretty good spot to be in right now. We can potentially farm them down with either Vine Whips or Dragon Breath later on this game. We're going to see what we can do here. They actually end up swapping out instantly to a Dragon type, not the Palkia we were expecting, actually the squishy Dialga, the Dialga that used to be very strong until our Origin form Dialga here came into the meta. Obviously, Iron Head isn't going to do too much damage, but the thing is, in this matchup, I don't really care about winning it. I just want to make sure that theirs doesn't win so hard that they can get a lot of fast food pressure against my Zarude. The reason that I'm going to win this game is going to be by just getting a lot of fast food pressure, trying to get fast food pressure against that Landorus, and then potentially also knocking out this Dialga with fast moves, or if they end up letting this next Iron Head go, I can just knock them out with that, and all I need at this point is to invest in Zarude and make sure this Dialga is not super healthy. Iron Head is going to come through here, it doesn't actually get the second shield, they let it go, and they're going to try to farm us down with this Landorus here. Unfortunately for them, Dragon Breath is just a little bit too powerful. We get the full farm down before they can get their farm down, and we win that game. Alright, next matchup, a Mamoswine. We're a little bit weak to Ice-type damage, actually. ABA weak to Ice, but Zarude does have super effective Vine Whips here, so it's not the worst case scenario, but I think Mamoswine does actually end up outpacing and winning CMP against us, which is not great. But since this is a Shadow Mamoswine, we can see just how much fast food pressure I've already done to them. Avalanche would have basically one-shot us here, so I don't want to end up letting that go. We're going to go for a Dark Pulse, just in case they catch. I know I could wait a turn, but honestly, waiting a turn sometimes doesn't actually visually update the game, so going for the Dark Pulse here just as the safer play. They end up CMPing this next attack here, so Mamoswine does in fact win that CMP. I'm going to let this go, come in Dialga, try to farm down, and once this Ice type is out of the way, I'm hoping that our Landorus is going to have a little bit more play. We do actually get the perfect farm down here right before they get their next Avalanche. Somehow they bring in a Palkia into our Dialga. That is a very crazy thing to see. And they throw an Aqua Tail into us too, not even a Spatial Rend. How weak do you have to be to Dialga to bring in a Palkia here? Honestly, I'm trying to think, what is even weaker to a Dialga than this? I can't even think of anything right now. I throw the Iron Head, they let it go. What's their final Pokemon going to be? We still have a lot of our Dialga left over. The Nihilego, okay, I guess that could do it. Steel, or not a Steel, Rock and Poison type Pokemon, very weak to Steel type damage, and a Pokemon with no fast food pressure, a Pokemon very weak to Ground type damage as well. Our Landorus able to just one-shot this Pokemon. Unfortunately for our opponent, despite running a very cool and spicy team, we just have a lot of answers for their backline here. In comes that Palkia, but we can mudshot it down and take the game there. Alright, next matchup, Zarude up against... Okay, that's very bad. Speaking of being ABA to Ice-type damage, they are likely running the new Ice Fang buffed Zamazenta here. Looks like that is exactly the case. This is looking so bad for us right now. Fast moves are doing so much damage to us, but somehow we actually end up CMPing here. If this is a close combat and I shield it up properly, and I get my Power Whip through, maybe we can win this matchup. This is going to go through. This Power Whip is going to likely draw a shield from them. Let's see what they want to do. They do end up shielding. We have made the right call so far this game. We reach another Power Whip, but at this point we are taking so much damage they might actually be able to fast move us all the way down. I think I'm going to make a very risky play where I come in with our ground and flying type Pokemon into this Zamazenta. We're taking so much fast move pressure. I'm going to have to shield at this point. I know it's just a crunch, but I want to have a little bit of our Landorus left over. We end up taking almost over half of our health here just with Ice Fangs, but I do knock out their fighting type Pokemon. Maybe once this is gone, we have a little bit more play with our Landorus. Okay, well, that's looking good. I know I can one-shot this if I can reach this Stone Edge before they reach a Charge Move, which we just barely can. What is their final Pokemon? Why did they bring this in rather than whatever their final Pokemon is? There's a chance we might get a Landorus sweep this game. The final Pokemon is going to be revealed as a Necrozma. Not exactly the scariest Pokemon, but with this much energy, and honestly with our Zarude taken out, or very low at this point, this could be a little bit risky. With that said, if they don't land a Sunsteel Strike or an Iron Head, if this is just a Dark Pulse, I think we survive this move. We might get to a Dark Pulse of our own. They Dark Pulse us. They don't quite knock us out. We reach a Dark Pulse against this Pokemon, and I think at this point, even if this doesn't knock out, we can easily Dragon Breath down with Dialga and take the win this game. GG's to our opponent. Very tricky matchup in the end game. Honestly, very tricky matchup in the lead. Our Landorus, though, putting in so much work. All right, Ho-Oh, we've seen this lead. We know how bad it is for us. We're going to save swap to our Landorus here. That is even worse. They come in with a Kyogre, one of the worst things I could really see right now, but I have this move loaded. I have the first debuff with the Sandsear Storm. It's not going to do too much damage, but it does actually put them into range where potentially the next Stone Edge could knock them out if they end up letting us get to it. Our opponent smartly does realize that I would get to that attack. They throw energy here, and now I see a very ambitious opportunity to go for a full Vine Whip down against this Pokemon. I know that Dark Pulse isn't going to do a ton of damage to that Ho-Oh, but I need to take it out at least somehow. Dialga is not a great answer to Ho-Oh, so if I can get to 2 Dark Pulses against it, chip them down to fast move farm down range, there could still potentially be play for us. They actually instant swap back into that Ho-Oh. They don't want to give us this farm down. That's crazy. They must have another good answer for Zarude in the backline. So I'm going to be fine just kind of staying in this matchup, going for these 2 Dark Pulses, chipping them down as much as possible, and then farming them down with our Dialga. This could be a little bit risky, though, because now that we've desynced the switch clocks, there's a good chance that I get debuffed with a Sacred Fire. It's a 50% chance, but if they lock us in with a debuff, this could be bad unless they're very weak to our Dialga in the backline. Sacred Fire does end up coming through, but no debuff. Thankfully, we are able to avoid that this time around. Final Pokemon going to be revealed as an Yveltal. This Pokemon is very scary for our Zarude, but we have our Dialga ready to go with these Iron Heads and these Dragon Breaths, chipping them down as far as we can into range where potentially, maybe I can knock them out with a Power Whip later on. They're overfarming so much energy right now. I'm really surprised by this play. They are basically at 100 energy right now, which is fine and all, but at this point, if they don't throw any energy soon, which they finally do right when they get to back-to-back charge moves, they are almost in range where maybe a Power Whip could knock them out. I know at this point that I need to watch for a catch, that Kyogre is still alive, wait the turn, see the Kyogre come in, and now, as long as a Power Whip plus 2 or 3 more Vine Whips can knock out before they get to back-to-back charge moves, my Zarude might just be able to win this game. Power Whip does a lot of damage, but is that Vine Whip downrange, and are they at back-to-back charge moves? I have to shield this up. I think they might be one Sucker Punch away from the next Oblivion Wing. Can we do it? Zarude Vine Whipping down the Yveltal somehow taking that game there. GG's to our opponent. All right, next game, we have the Palkia up against our Zarude. Another very neutral matchup. We've seen this matchup play out quite a few times, where I just want to kind of soft lose this matchup, go for the Power Whip, and potentially use our Landorus later on this game. That's how I like to play this out. I haven't called a Spatial Rend bait properly. It's always just been no-shielded, and they basically one-shot us with that charge move. Let's see if this time we will get the right play. We're going to no-shield, see what they're going to throw. Spatial Rend does end up coming through once again, getting so much damage into us. I'm going to make the same play we have been, go in Dialga. Hopefully they stay in. They do stay in this time, which is actually a little bit helpful. Makes it so we get the full farm down, and they bring in a Necrozma here. A very interesting Pokemon to see. Not exactly the worst Pokemon, but honestly, it is a little bit uncomfortable if they end up shielding a Roar of Time. This would do a lot of damage, though, if it goes through. What is my opponent going to do? They end up shielding that attack here. They are building up so much energy right now on this Necrozma. I'm going to let this move go. I know they can't really one-shot me. Outrage is probably the hardest hitting move they can throw, which of course that means that they are going to throw the Outrage. Does a lot of damage to us, and now I'm going to be able to reach another Sandsear Storm in just a second, but not before they reach either a Dark Pulse or an Iron Head. I'm going to shield it up. I don't want to take any unnecessary damage, and I'm hoping right now that we have enough in the tank with our Landorus to sweep this game. We know that the Palkia is gone. We saw the Zacian actually come in. That's going to be a Pokemon that's very playable for our Landorus, especially with our energy lead here. We should be in a pretty good spot. Sandsear Storm number 2 is going to come through. It won't knock them out, but if they let this go, I might be able to just fully farm them down, which it looks like that is what they're going to do. I think at this point they're double debuffed. Do I let this go? I know they have energy on that Necrozma as well, but I also know that I might just want to shield this up because I can also debuff the Necrozma potentially before they get to a move. We catch on our Dialga. We had to do this or else they would have got a lot of chip damage against our Landorus. They end up throwing the Wild Charge. It does a lot of damage. Well, it doesn't do a lot, but it does finish off our Dialga here, I guess, at this point. We go for the Sandsear Storm against this Necrozma. Is this going to be enough to knock them out? No, because they have a shield. But do they reach a charge move? At the last second, they do. I have to hope that I survive this charge attack. I got the debuff against them. Iron Head ends up not barely knocking us out. 1 HP survived with our Landorus. We've reached this next Sandsear Storm. Does it knock them out? It should at this point. And can I fast move down this Zacian? Just barely Landorus able to get that endgame sweep. GG's to our opponent. Next game, Zarude up against a Zygarde. I hate this Pokemon so much. It's such a bulky Pokemon, and they could potentially have either Outrage, Bulldoze, I don't know, Earthquake, Crunch. There's so many different moves this thing can run. I don't want to take an Outrage, so that would probably be the worst case scenario here. We go for the Power Whip. It does quite a bit of damage. It gets the 3-shot eventually in this matchup. Back in the day when they ran Earthquake and Crunch, this was actually a pretty good matchup for Zarude, but now that a lot of them have swapped over to probably Bulldoze or Crunch plus Outrage, it's a lot more annoying. They go for a Crunch bait too. That is so unnecessarily BM of them. Unfortunately for me now, they will be able to outpace us to another move before it can even threaten another shield from this Zygarde here. So this is looking pretty bad for us. I'm going to have to double shield. I don't like doing this because I'm already tripped down so much, and I don't know how much play we're really going to have with our monkey later on this game. They double bait us, dude. What is this? Why would you double bait us? I go for the Dark Pulse just in case they try to catch on something, and we are going to see what they're going to do. Dark Pulse ends up getting the knockout, and they come in with a fairy type Pokemon. That's not the normal mono fairy that you're going to see. I was expecting either to get Zacian or Xerneas, but that's going to be a Florges here. I can go for these debuffs with our Scorching Sands, or Sandsear Storms rather, and see what they want to do. They haven't swapped out yet, which means our Landorus probably has a lot of plans to the backline. But this move is going to do a lot, likely a Moonblast. Queued up here from our opponent. Yeah, that does over half of our health despite the debuff. I can reach another Sandsear Storm in just a second here, but I'm going to go for the guaranteed knockout. They might no-shield this thinking a Sandsear Storm doesn't knock them out. Stone Edge ends up unfortunately getting shielded. I could have made them shield a move that would have been debuffed their attack stat, but unfortunately for us, we are going to now get knocked out likely by a Moonblast here, and this is such a tricky spot. I can't really come in with our Dialga to farm them down. I have to come in with our Zarude to drain energy, but this is looking so bad for us right now. I don't really know what I can beat in the backline. They end up knocking us out here with likely a Disarming Voice, and I just have to hope their final Pokemon is very weak to Dialga. They end up coming in with it. It is a Rhyperior. Honestly, that was a playable backline, but the way they just got 2 shields with Crunch Baits in the lead was absolutely terrible for us. Alright, next matchup, a Ho-Oh in the lead. Not what you want to see, but I'm going to safe swap to our Landorus. See that they come in with a Zygarde. This is another one of those matchups that I really don't like to be in. Zygarde is so bulky that they survive these charge moves pretty easily, but the thing is, if I can set up a potential farm down for a Zarude, maybe we can have a chance here this game. I get to another debuff before the Outrage is reached from this thing. This is going to do a decent chunk of damage, probably put them around half health at this point, just a little bit under half health it looks like, and now the next move won't knock them out, but we will be able to start threatening shields with that third attack, or I can just no-shield this knowing that I don't really like going down shields this early on, because I can triple debuff them and potentially put them into a range where I can knock them out with just fast moves with our Zarude. They are triple debuffed on this Zygarde. Their charge moves are going to do almost nothing to us. They are in prime farm down range, and now if they don't swap out, we can probably get to 100 energy on our Zarude here, potentially Dark Pulsing that Ho-Oh, and maybe still winning this matchup. Outrage comes through. Dude, that does nothing actually, just holy crap. That triple debuff, I guess, really coming in clutch here. They don't even reach another charge move, and we are so close to back-to-back Dark Pulses, exactly what we need to have if you want to put any pressure against this Ho-Oh. Once again, we don't have a good Ho-Oh counter, so these Dark Pulses are going to be critical to putting them closer to Dragon Breath downrange for our Dialga later on. Dark Pulse ends up doing about 40% of their health. We have another Dark Pulse queued up. What are they going to do? Likely just no-shield this, but I'm hoping for a shield right now just for fun. No, they don't shield. Good play by them. They are at their Sacred Fire now. I'm hoping for no debuff. We're going to see what our opponent's going to do here, and I'm just hoping their backline is not going to be strong against our Dialga. They end up getting the debuff, and the final Pokemon is strong against, or weak rather, to our Dialga, which means that we have a lot of play here, but the thing is, we got debuffed. I can't farm them down. I'm going to have to try to get shields down this game. This is going to be such a close endgame matchup. I don't like where this is going, though, because they are getting so much damage on us with these Aqua Tails and Dragon Breaths at this point. They can probably outpace us to charge moves. They end up going for the Spatial Rend, actually, instead of going for a bait, but I do reach this Iron Head in just a second before they reach their next Aqua Tail, but this will draw the shield. Can we knock out a Palkia and a Ho-Oh with our Zarude at this point? I don't know. It's going to be so close. Aqua Tail does a lot of damage to us. We save a little bit of health left over on our Dialga. We try to reach this Dark Pulse here. We do reach it, but we take 2 Incinerates in the process. This is going to do so much damage to our Zarude at this point. We have to try to fast move down this Palkia. Is it going to be enough? Can we do it with our Dialga? We come in. 1 HP loss, such a close game, hard countered in the lead, hard countered in the backline, just almost pulled it back with our Dialga there, but just barely taking the loss. GG's to them. Next game, we have a good lead matchup. They instantly swap out to their Zacian, and now I know I'm in a pretty good spot here. Their lead matchup's not very good against our Landorus. This matchup obviously is also very strong for our Landorus, so I'm going to try to debuff them before they throw a charge move here and see how they want to play this matchup out. That debuff is going to be very impactful in making it so this charge move doesn't do anywhere near as much damage as they probably would like it to do. This Play Rough will do a decent chunk, putting us close to the red after these quick attacks, but I'm going to overfarm here and make sure I can double shield, or shield this move, double up on my charge moves, and then potentially have energy to threaten that Necrozma when it comes back in later on. Now I'm going to go for the Sand Storm at 100 energy. I have so much energy at this point that if they want to shield, I can throw double moves here and guarantee switch advantage. If they no shield, then I would have switch and I'd have another debuff for the backline. They end up actually just letting that move go, which is probably a smart play actually, because now that they shielded and let the next one go, they are going to be able to get a full Shadow Claw down with this non-debuff Necrozma. A very good play by our opponent actually. They have a lot of energy here, but I'm hoping the backline matchup is going to be at least somewhat good for our Dialga. Unfortunately, we lag a turn coming in here, which means that we miss out on the Vine Whip. Probably not going to be the most impactful thing here this game, but it is a little bit unfortunate. We go for the Dark Pulse here right before they get their next charge move. Dark Pulse might not knock them out from this range, but it's going to come very close. Are they scared of our Zarude in the backline? That's going to be the big question here. They end up shielding that Dark Pulse, so they must be kind of scared of Zarude right now. I'm going to shield up at this point. If you want to shield up your Necrozma, I am more than fine shielding up my Zarude. I am going to be able to get to a Dark Pulse here at the last second, right before they get another Dark Pulse, or an Iron Head rather, off against us. This should knock them out at this point. And what is their final Pokemon going to be? It's a Landorus. Honestly, a bit of a tricky Pokemon to see, but we have so much energy, we can outpace them to this Power Whip. It won't knock them out, but it should easily put them into a range where we can just Dragon Breath them all the way down with Dialga. We are using the bulky Dialga, which means that no way are they going to be able to one-shot us with a charge move here. This Sandstorm is going to do a lot, but it's not even going to put us into fast move farm down range. If they ever want to knock us out, they have to throw another Sandstorm, which they do reach, but now we still have our Zarude ready to go to Vine Whip down this Landorus and take us the win this game. Very close matchup there. They tried to play out of that matchup there where they're ABA weak to our Zarude, but fortunately Zarude is just such an interesting core breaker. Grass and Dark, typing that you don't see too often in the Master League, but very strong Pokemon just in general for the Rhyperiors, for the Necrozmas, for the Kyogres that you see so much of, and it's a very fun pick. I wish it was a little bit more accessible. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching today's video. I stream my battles live basically every day at twitch.tv/ItsAXN. I'd love to see you there. Also, if you want to see more content like this, I'm going to upload a lot more to the channel, so please make sure to subscribe. Thank you again for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.